What is up? Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Xavier Turbos. Round 14 is here. We're through in the weird origin stage where we don't know what round it is. We don't know whether players are fully committed into the NRL. It's kind of a weird period for the NRL, but I am joined by the Pretenders. Grant McCartan. How are you, Grant?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, it is a weird period, isn't it? It's almost like that week between Christmas and New Year's where you just don't care what day it is, what time it is. You're doing whatever the hell you want. It's the best time of the year, but I can't say it's the same for me this time of year, SuperCoach-wise, because you get that itch in buy rounds and then the mini buys. It's just there's not enough games. I reckon they need to scrap that.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Like I feel appreciative that I get to watch footy on the weekend just gone. Like the weekend of footy, Sunday's footy was one of the best days of footy I've seen in a while. Every matchup was really good to watch, and I'm just so happy that footy is back. And it kind of feels like we've just been more of the preseason than actual season has happened. But we're getting to that period where it's nearly the end. We're halfway through, which is crazy. How are you going rank-wise? I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Me and Timmy are doing the hokey pokey at the moment and swapping one week in, 1 week out. I'm going pretty well at the moment. A couple of flat weeks, but nothing like scores pretty good. 12.48 on the weekend. I didn't really have a bad player. Like Munster was my dropout score. Captain Terrell May didn't really do much wrong. I didn't really have much go right either. Everyone pretty much had Koloamatangi, so that didn't really get you ahead. And I think I think it was just a weekend where it wasn't another non-big moving weekend. It was quite strange. It wasn't like there wasn't a huge variation in top end scores. A lot of people around that mid-1200s mark. So I'm ranked 6,700 now. I've pretty much got about 6 guys that I want to get between now and the end. And apart from that, I can make moves, pod moves and chase plays, play a bit of roulette if it's on. But yes, some interesting teams this week and no Roosters. Maybe for me that's a good thing, but geez, every team I've seen this week looks so deep it doesn't matter. People are struggling to pick between, 3 600K players for their 18th spot. It's going to be a big scoring week, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. I got a question the other week on the Q&A podcast saying how many trades is ideal to have at this time of year and after the bye period. And I think I've really thought about it over the weekend, and I was speaking to Timmy on the weekend, and we pretty much determined our final teams. I'm not playing any cheapies this week. Our teams are where we want them to be. So I feel like we're going to have more trades leading out of the origin period than we're going to have in years past. And I think that's a really good thing, especially if you play it smart. Like I think a lot of people are going to end up forcing trades, which will be the undoing and towards the end of the year. I think like there's so many opportunities to move throughout the season, and it just doesn't feel like the bye period is quite it yet. I think potentially like captain choices in the next buy round might be crucial. Like we have Tom Trbojevic, we have Drinkwater and Tedesco probably all available depending on Trebojevic's healthiness. But I think it kind of feels like everyone's where they want to be, and moving there's no black and white answer how to move.
Yeah, look, I think what you'll start to see is, we'll be throwing ownership percentage out the window a little bit soon. So everyone's going to be looking to make pod plays, but we're now getting to the stage where people are going to have 21-man squads, which means whilst a player might be 60, 70% owned, they might only be 50% played, 40% played. And you're actually, those people are sitting. This week for me, for example, I'm sitting both Hosking and Tapine. That's my plan for this week at the moment. And I've got a proper 20-man gun squad for this week. So if I'm already sitting those guys, I can only imagine what some other, like my team value is not up near the top. It's in the early 16s. There's people, in the late 16 millions. They're going to have another player, another 2 players. It's getting to that stage where it might not be necessarily chasing the pods, but just picking your sit v starts is going to be a real issue, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I've already kind of had issues with it this week. I think Tom Trbojevic not getting picked, massive talking point. Yeah, I know, bloody, why'd you buy Turbo?
You're saying you'd think the comments this week might be filled with, what'd you buy him for? Why'd you jump on early?
I kind of agree with them, to be honest.
Oh, no, you should. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, because it should be filled with that.
No, I should be filthy with it, but it's also like, I'm also filled with a bit of confidence. I'm just like, no one is going to want to buy him when he comes back. So if he is really good to go, then it's just because Lehi is doing so well. You're talking about all your good players that did well. Do you have Lehi as well?
Yeah. That was probably my one sort of semi-pod option who did go well on the weekend. We obviously talked about him a couple of weeks the last time I was in here, and we were pretty keen on him. I mentioned you more so for upside, me talking about just I thought his underlying stats, his base power was a bit up on previous years, which just gives him a better floor. He hasn't needed that the last 2 weeks because he's just absolutely dominated. His good player. It's
funny because like there's certain topics and players throughout the year that you really talk up, and I feel like 2 weeks ago, not many other people were talking about Lehi. We were very hot on him. I think I wasn't fully there on him. I wasn't 100% in, but I was in enough, and he was someone who I wanted to trade in. I think just like the price sold me as well. And it's something that at the end of the year, I'll definitely hold my hat on thinking, I'm glad we talked him up on this podcast because listening to all the other podcasts, he wasn't really a topic throughout the week. It was like, he was a bypassing comment. But like the fact that he hadn't scored a try was just ridiculous to me. And I love seeing that stat when just someone hasn't scored a try in ages because I'm like, this is why they are at this value and they can only get better from here. So that is something I'll put my hat off to you. I'll give you more credit than I'll take because I think that was something we really bounced off each other and I think we really sold each other on, which was good. So today we're going to go over a lot of mid-range options because I think a lot of these cheapies, Jenkins, Toya, there's another one. I mean, Tamale's not really a sell, but there's heaps of options at the moment.
Purdue's bounced back a little bit.
Which
too. I think was, I think people need to just sometimes slow down a second. And the guy moved positions in an attacking side. Like, it was the Tigers, and that definitely helps. But great buys. Like, if you sold him the week before he got moved to 6, like you'd already sold him. That was when he was right at the top. He'd had that big score roll out of his average. Like I get it because you were playing. It was just a cheapie that had sort of capped out. But if you held him through that week ready for the buys and then moved him just because of 1 week at 6, I think sometimes you just got to just slow down a little bit and work out, why am I actually doing this? Am I just doing this because I see something? Is it a new shiny toy for me to pick up? And look, we all do it as SuperCoach. It's not, this is just one example where it's quickly, turned in the other direction. But even the information that was out there, like why they moved him, they had a plan. Peyton came out and said, we had a plan to move him to this position was always going to be his. He's come up through the halves. It's not new to him. It wasn't like now he's a 6, he's not going to score as well. It reminds me so much of Fletcher Sharp in his style and the way he plays. Like, I think, getting him close to the ball is never a bad thing. So you just sometimes got to, just slow down a bit, let things come. There's some prime examples this week that we'll probably talk about and I'll point them out as we go through the show. Just zooming in on me. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, you're a bit further away than I would have liked.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have. We're in a rush today, but as always.
Telling you need an assistant. That's what we need. We need a show assistant.
I did reach out to someone who in the SuperCoach space who doesn't do a podcast or anything and is really hands-on. I was like, hey, do you want to come like push buttons and be like a third voice in our podcast? Yeah. He said no.
Wow.
He said no, which I mean, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Oh. If you don't want to do that sort of thing, you don't have to.
It's a big commitment, but just saying we've reached out, so we've tried. But yeah, so we're going to go over some mid-range options on who to replace these players like Horsburgh, Toya, Jenkins. There's heaps of options we can sell out, and we're looking at the options that we can sell in. And hot tip, I actually really like this one that I'm very keen on. We're going to go over team lists, wrap up. We're also going to do the market watch, which is top 5 and the top 5 traded out. So that's going to be a good one. We'll finish off with tipping point and trades, which I'm very excited of. But yeah, let's go to the team list changes. So let's go over to the team list, starting with. Can you start me off here? Oh my God. Hold on. I got to get the wrap up.
You don't have your team list up?
I've got him here. Here we go.
Well, the Knights
All
have KP back. That's the big one, and that changes their shape. From what I understand, the Gamble has a broken thumb, so I don't know. I'm assuming that was how they were going to do it anyway, but it does mean that Cogger holds that halfback role, which is probably. I know their attack has been pretty shit anyway, but it is their best shape, I think.
Yes,
I was
great.
I was just giving you some time, mate.
No, sorry, that was great. McCarthy is named at centre wing once again. Matt Croker at lock. Pretty decent purchase option. $450K now, though. I think there's a lot of guys like this who have got out of the way. Blake Steep is one of them. I don't know if you've seen Blake Steep. Sure have. $222K, 444K at the moment.
Well, they're talking about him as being, potentially a future captain of the Roosters. He was the captain of their SG Ball side. I mean, those guys. It's funny how they sneak through in stages of the season just because they're not, as I said, the guy with the lowest break even, or
they're not starting. Yeah. It was never very attractive on paper. Lehi named a fullback. There's no Tommy. Falalo on the wing, $400K. He looked really good last week. Gerbo is named at lock, which means Tabunga goes back to the bench. Storm versus Cowboys. Suet is replaced by Grant Anderson. Jack Howarth, mid-range option, starts at centre wing once again. Harry Grant is named. And the Cowboys, the same 17 as last week. Tuolangi out again. Dolphins play the Dragons. Hammer returns from Origin. Avarillo back at centre. Fiane on the extended reserves. JMK and Plath on the extended bench. Tuipulotu named on the wing. Sewer out, replaced by Leilua. Couchman named on the edge. Hamish Stewart keeps his lock roll. Tonga named on the bench. And RFM named on the bench. Sharks versus the Warriors. Katoa named back from injury. Mulatalo suspended, which means Roddy keeps his spot. Billy Burns drops out onto the extended bench. Oh, that would have hurt me so much if I pulled the trigger, because he was going along really nicely. Barnett ACL replaced by Ford in the front row, and Halasima named to start on the edge. Broncos versus Titans. Reece Walsh is back at fullback. Mariner drops out of the team. Haas named to start. Carrigan back to lock. Interesting one there. Pierre Cora named to start on the edge. Ooh, we should no.
Don't do it to yourself.
We'll have a look at that. Jaden Campbell named at fullback. Brimson challenging the 11-day HIA, named on the extended bench. Forum at 5'8". Weaver named at 7. Verrills out, broken hand, replaced by Mullany,
yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Raiders play Rabbitohs. Fogarty back from injury. Papali named in the starting lineup for his 319th, which is the most cap. Did you see that video of his son saying, "Come next week"?
Yep.
You didn't even need to know whose son it was, because you already knew. Jack Whiten back from injury for the Rabbitohs. Named at centre wing. Tass on the wing for the injured Bentley Harpe. Cody Walker is back at 5'8". Rest of the team as per last week. Tigers versus Panthers. Skelton named on the wing, replacing Staines. Mason named at 5'8". Sione Fainu named in the front row. Jenkins named on the wing. IPAP, Garner, Alamotti on the extended bench. Bulldogs versus Eels on the Monday, mind you. Kiraz back from injury. Sexton named at 7. Galvin named on the extended bench. Jack Williams at front row. Not much else. I feel like this is the first team list in a while that there's a bit happening.
Yeah, there's heaps happening. I think there's two sort of things simultaneously happening. There's a whole bunch of guns returning all at once, it seems. Not just
And
SuperCoach,
some not.
NRL, yeah. Some not, but most of them returning all at once. The Dogs especially, they're really starting to get guys coming back. For me, the other thing is there's a whole bunch of unknown cheapy guys who it's only their week 1 or week 2. Sort of Nathan Lawson's burst onto the scene at St George and won a spot there. The Titans have a couple of guys, but it's actually the reserves this week. It's one of those weeks where it's really annoying because there's a whole bunch of really good players named outside of the starting 17 that you're just going to have to keep your eyes on. Poor Fizz is going to be working overtime this week, giving us updates, and the late mail guys are all going to have to be sniffing around on the ball. The weekend runs all the way through to Monday as well. So anyone playing in that, that Dogs para game, if you got it laid out, it's going to be really, really hard to cover something in that game. So it is a lot happening. And to be honest, these are the sorts of weeks where you can really get caught out. You've got to be really good. Making sure your reserves order is in the right place. Make sure you guys that are in your starting team are playing earlier in the weekend. There's a lot happening. I think probably even more than it looks on paper.
Yeah, 100%. Like Nathan Lawson, I didn't even see that in the team list. And Tuipulotu's named on the wing, but Nathan Lawson, I assume, plays right. This could be a huge Supercoach impact because there could be every chance Nathan Lawson plays left. Like they could prefer that Tuipulotu on the right as someone who yardage and stuff. So it could be massive domino effects for both players. But assuming Nathan Lawson plays on the right anyway, cheapy option. He's one of the most traded in players this week, if not the most traded in. I actually think Koloamatangi is, but like we've seen 1 week from him. Chill. Like we've generated so much money this year. I think just chill. Like you don't really need to be rushing these guys into your side because we can really wait till that 3rd week to make sure they are going to make the money. They are going to be fit and healthy. I get if you got a lot of Roosters players and you kind of want to get that extra gun in to your side, like that's your way to do it. But just chill, brah. Chill. Got work tomorrow.
Honestly, if your side is...
You just got what I said, didn't
No,
you?
I was listening. I was just not going to give it anything, but I decided to be polite. No, I just feel it's I'm not saying you have to save trades. There's plenty of moves that, people that are looking at, say, taking a risk on Kiraz or something like that, go for it. I'm not against it at all. People who feel like they're a bit behind and maybe there's a guy like Koloamatangi who they haven't had a chance to get, or if you really want Lehi or someone like that, I get all those moves, but I don't think you should be, if you don't have the cash for those moves, wait a week. I think most of them can move. Probably not Koloamatangi. I'd try and get to him as soon as I could. Just the way he's playing is absolutely ridiculous. But, someone like Nathan Lawson who doesn't have a dual, if you pick them up this week and then, he has some sort of injury, medium term, long term. Like Sloane's no mug. He's a decent player. We've got Finau as well who's had games this year. Corey Allen's still around. Like there's no certainty in him next week, and he doesn't have a dual, so he's just going to be sitting there. Sure, people talking about nothing at this time of year, and maybe we'll cover some of that in this episode. But yeah, you don't need to take that risk this week. I just don't see it. I really, really don't see it. And I think those are the sort of moves that are really short-sighted and really you get excited because you see a gun that you can afford if you bring him in. And then, potentially that's one spot that's just sitting there dead for the rest of the year when things aren't going to be so easy over the next, rounds 15, 16, 18 and 19. They're going to be tough. And the Roosters still have another bye yet. So if you're a team that's affected by that, you still got one more round of that. So yeah, but there is a lot happening. Like it's exciting. It's exciting when things like this happen because it makes you think maybe it's a moving round. Maybe there's some opportunity here. Maybe maybe there's some stuff like that.
Yeah, because no one knows there's no definitive move this week. Yep. Like last week was so easy. It was like Keon and Daylight. Like but this week, like between the 6 most traded in and the first, there's not much in it, to be honest. Like Nathan Lawson, 4,000 people have traded him in. Keon's number 2 at 3,800. Like, there's not much in that at all. Lehi's 3rd at 3,1. Jaden Campbell at 2,9. Like, I think this will fluctuate later in the week, but it feels like, I feel like it definitely is moving round. And I'm looking at this top 10 traded in. We'll go over the top 10 and then we'll chat our mid-rangers after. But number 1, Nathan Lawson. I think we've touched on him. You can wait. But also at the same time, people have generated so much cash. Maybe you can just risk it, and if it turns into enough, it doesn't matter. You've generated enough cash anyway.
Yeah, look, you can, but I just don't see anything that would there's not someone standing out to me this week that says I must take that risk. That's how I see it. There would be for some people.
Let's say you don't have Pappy and you need to generate 200K.
Yep.
To get Pappy into your side because you think against the Cowboys at Amy Park, he's a really juicy option.
Yep. Are you going to force that in this week when you could pick him up in 16? Knowing he doesn't have a bye after that, and there's. It also. Well, I just look at these moves sometimes and go where it really is genuinely a really short term 1 week play. I just don't see it right now. Like I don't. If our teams weren't so deep, then sure. Like if my 18th man wasn't, I think it's pretty much works out to be Viliami Kikau, right? If it's instead it's, you know, Hubner, then sure, yeah, you're upgrading your side massively getting someone like that. But if you're only getting on paper what might be 20 or 30 points this week, and then Pap has the bye next week, like I just think you can position your moves a little bit smarter.
I agree with you, but I also think like if you're trying to make ranks, Ryan Papenhuyzen, for example, like there was that week he scored 182, which I don't know if it's going to happen with him for the rest of the year. I think he can score a big score, but I don't know if it will happen 182 for the rest of the year. But say he scores that, you've got him as captain. That's 360 points. By saving a trade and going like a more conservative thing, you're already getting more points over 1 week than you could with someone over 6 weeks, averaging 60. So I think in that case, if you find that there is a must-have this week, which I feel like we're not seeing, we don't think there's an absolute must-have. Like there's no one in my side that I'm thinking he's definitely captain or he definitely needs to be in my side. Keon, potentially, but also I think there's every chance he plays Origin now. You've missed the 200 scores. You can deal with another 100 score or probably 80 this week, I assume.
Yep.
You can deal with that. Like, you just wait till Origin. He's already gone up in price. What's another week of price rises? Like, you can just wait that 1 week and see how the Origin selections pan out. Yeah, I think I'm more on your side than I'm on my side.
It's good. These are the things that it's not just going through our heads. These are the things that'll be going through everyone's head. Like if you don't own Papenhuyzen right now, you're probably sitting there thinking, far out, he really could explode in that game. It's a stressful week for you. Like, and the thing with someone like him who's really highly owned, is that everyone else is going to get those points and you're not, and it feels like you would be way behind. So I don't get me wrong, I completely get it. I just think, if you've had a really good plan, like if you're scrambling and you don't have any other moves, or your team's so strong and that's your only move, sure, I get it. I see the point. It's not. I'm never the type of person who'll say, that's a dumb move. You should never do it. There's circumstances for everything, but it would have to be pretty unique circumstances, I think, this week to really push the buttons. Because again, it's only because of what I've seen in the community. Everyone's teams look so good right now, and it's just about getting the right combination of them.
Yeah, 100%. I think that is the way to go. So Keon is number 2, 678K. I think he's a must-have. We'll get that front row duel come around 18, but as I said, you could probably just wait a week here. He's already got the price rises. What's his break-even now at the moment? His break-even's 11, so a score of 90 this week gets a 60K price rise. You can cop 60K, to be honest. Like, I don't see him. I don't think he's going to score another ton this week. But that being said, he's been beast mode the last 2 weeks. So if you find that that's going to strengthen your side, go for it. But at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily a must-have. Like, I think last week, yes, I didn't even care about Origin last week. Yep. But this week, we've got Origin looming around the corner.
Well, with
and
Barnett's
the Mitch Barnett
injury,
ACL, it's really doubled down.
Makes
on
a
that.
difference. Look, I still don't think it probably deserves to be really right in that conversation, but so does Terrell May, for example. And
we're probably not going to get either of them.
I don't think so. From what I understand, it was Uda Ikamanu who was going to be next in, and I know that I don't know. I'm not really sure how this works, but Jacob Saifidi was in front of those two guys in the conversation as well, and he's not back this week, but apparently close for their bye round game next weekend, which would make him pretty close. Like he'd be able to be in and around the squad as well if that's the way they want to go. Look, I can't fault Laurie. What he did with the team worked, and I don't know if it's quite unfair to those guys. They are in such good form, and Keon particularly, even right now, the excuses around May not being explosive is, to my eyes, wrong. Yep. He is explosive, and he proved that last year when he played a lot more bench role and a lot more shorter minutes. But what Keon's being explosive in 80 minutes right now. So there's literally no reason not to prioritise him other than, he wasn't in contention for game 1 and we're kind of just going to keep going with what we believe right now.
I think there's every chance they do consider him. Maybe he is in the extended squad potentially, but it just feels like it's not going to go the way we want it to. Like, as super coaches, we want Koloamatangi to be available for us, but at the same time, I want what's best for the player.
As a New South Wales fan as well,
but like he deserves to be there. Like, if you're him playing 80 minutes, putting up these stats, you're like, what else do I need to do?
Well, he was done a bit of I wouldn't say a disservice because that's not the right word, but because he went through the preseason looking to play, they looked to play him on the edge this year. You know, I think that probably put him behind those other guys. Like, it as unfair as it is, he hasn't played as well on the edge. So he's only got a 3 week. An outstanding 3 weeks, but he's only had a 3 week period now where he's playing in the middle. He looks a completely different player.
I 100% get why he wasn't picked in the first game, even on the extended. Like, even though I would have put him in there anyway, just knowing you could play middle last year, I get it after 1 week why he wasn't picked. But after 3, I think he just needs to be there some way, shape, or form and capacity. But yeah, we're going to get Stefano. But, you know, I've seen a lot of people say super coaches don't know what they're talking about, like all the stats and stuff. Rob Sutherland actually did a rant on SuperCoach NRL, which was quite funny. Super coaches are they watch the most footy. I guarantee you, me and you watch way more footy than what Gordon Tallis watches.
Probably, yeah.
Because there's some shit that them sort of panelists say that I'm just like, you're not watching games, are you? But the uproar of Keon Koloamatangi and Terrell May not being in the Origin side, yes, I think it's awful. But at the same time, look how good New South Wales were. Yep. They got to every single point on the field they wanted to get to. So Nathan Cleary could pull the strings, have that kick away to Zach Lomax, and it just worked for them. If they've got someone throwing offloads and stuff, they don't really need that because that's kind of going to stunt what they're after. It is a good backup option, which I feel like they really should have in their arsenal, because like if plan A isn't working, what's your plan B? Like I really think Terrell May or Koloamatangi really need to be there for that reason. But
look, we can say what we want, but at the end of the day, we and Queensland were caught on the back foot real early, and New South Wales won the power game. New South Wales played a really good brand. So whatever Laurie's done now in the past, he's picked the right side to beat this Queensland side in game 1, and I'm confident he'll pick a side that can do it again in game 2. It's just unfortunate because whether you look at it from a Supercoach perspective or not, and you make that point on Gordy is interesting, but those guys have also seen a lot more of what goes on behind the scenes than us and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So you got to there's I guess a bit of give and take in that. Take the stats out of it and watch Keon play on the weekend, and he looks like a man amongst boys in that middle at the moment, and that to me is all you need to see. That's what Payne Haas has been doing all year. And I think that's what Terrell's been doing as well.
Yeah. And I also think that it's not even them not getting selected. It's Stefano and Jacob Savidi being in the talking points.
Yeah. That's probably more what makes it challenging to take. Yeah. But
like if there was, Mitch Barnett, I can't, like him being in there, you can't complain with that because he's an Origin player.
And Max King's been like that too, in my opinion. I think Max King's been very, very good.
I think he played very well in Origin. And he probably played his role exactly. I didn't expect him to play 40 minutes. Anyway, we're going on a rant.
That's all right.
Lehi, number 3, 676K. Has a pretty good draw. Has Newcastle, named a fullback, 16 break even. Plays the Titans next week in the bye round with no Fermor, no Tino, and I assume Forderwake is going to play for the Titans. I would hope. And then they play the Tigers in round 17, have bye round 16, and their draw is pretty good for the rest of the season. I think it's win-win for Lehi. Plays fullback when Tommy is out. Unlike most Manly backs, when Tommy is out, it kind of hurts for them. But Lehi, it's win-win.
Yep. No, I agree. And that's why that was the other reason in picking him, where I thought if, let's say, Turbo plays out of his mind. This was 2 weeks ago, right? This point will still stand for the rest of the season, basically. Let's say Turbo plays out of his mind at fullback. Both wingers, we know it's a hot spot. Like you're going to get heaps of tries there. That's what he does. He's unreal at it. Let's say he doesn't and he gets injured or something like that. He goes to fullback. It's not end of the world. The only time it would be a bad result is if he's playing on the wing and Tommy's playing like a busted, which can happen. It does happen at times with these injuries. But, the odds, I would say, were in our favour for something to go right. And at the moment it has. I actually did some stats this morning. Lehi is averaging more this season. That's all right. He's averaging more this season on the wing than he is at fullback if you take out the 18 he got against Penrith, which I thought was an aberration. His next lowest score on the wing this year is 40 plus. So I don't think he's going to get too many of those 18 scores. You got to allow for it in there, but he averages like 72 on the wing this year and 68 or 9 at fullback. Nice, I know.
And didn't score a try till last week.
And should have had 3. He was literally an inch from his elbow not landing first. So
676K. It's premium price. We paid $520 for him. I was much more comfortable paying $520. Would you pay $670?
Not now that Kiraz is back, because I think you need to get him Lomax and Val, if Val's dropped from Origin. Otherwise, you can wait a little bit. But you need to get those 3 guys as a priority. If you've got them, he's a nice pod. The only thing I would point out is 16 and 19 are both tough covers, and he misses both.
Very good point. Jaden Campbell, number 4 at $700K. Named a fullback again this week. Obviously, AJ Brimson's fighting that HIA charge, but at the same time, he's been so good. Like 93 points against the Melbourne Storm. He just tackle breaks for fun. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him, and I'm so glad I held, because there's just no one else in the position. I think 5'8", he's a clear standout. Let's have a go at his stats on the weekend. 22 points in runs, 12 points in offloads. Can we get tackle bust? Only 6 points in tackle bust on the weekend. So 40 points in base and power. Then he got all his attacking stats. Can we include goal kicks in base and power?
You should. That's what I do for Lomax and Val.
8 points. So
I don't include it in it, but I just add it as, base power plus goal
when
kicking.
You say, so 18 plus 22, 40. So 48 in base power. Like, that's really good for him with the attacking upside. He is the guy on their side. He is the guy they revolve their attack around, whether he's playing halfback, 5'8", fullback. I like it, and I think I have no arguments with him, number 4 on the list.
Yeah, no, I think he could. I mean, he could even be higher. Maybe the little knee issue that he had during the game, there was a minor sort of knee issue where he got strapped during the game. Didn't look like it affected him much at all. He was maybe a little hobbly, but he still got 2 try assists after that. So, I think he's. I mean, I've got Munster at the moment, and I certainly haven't been complaining about that because he's been on fire as well. But I don't think for the rest of the season you can go wrong with either of those guys. The advantage to JC is that one of these next 2 games Munster won't back up, so he's going to miss 15, 18, and one of 16 or 19. You'd think otherwise he really hasn't had a bye for a long time. So that's the advantage to Campbell, but I can't knock anyone going either way on that, and it's a position at the moment that I don't want to run both of them. I think 5'8" is one starter and save as much money as you can behind that, and if you pick Munster and he gets injured, go to Campbell, and if you pick Campbell and he gets injured, go to Munster, or whatever way you want to do it. And I think it's a really simple position, and I don't think we need to overcomplicate it.
Number 8 on the list, you could save 100K doing it, Luke Metcalf. I think he's been killing it, and he's been very consistent ever since round 3, where he scored 12, 121, and then 23 in round 3. Sorry, 117 in round 2. Since then, 47 and 49 are his lowest scores, mid-50s apart from that, and then 117, 119, 123. I think he's got a lot of upside. Mitch Barnett out of the side does worry me. He has the Sharks this week, the bye next week. Then he has Penrith Broncos. And then he has the Tigers and Newcastle Gold Coast after that. For me, it just doesn't feel like the Warriors are going to... I mean, they've kept it up for 13 weeks, so there's no saying they can do it for another 13. But it just feels like the points have fallen into him. Like, it doesn't feel like he's necessarily created them as much as a lot of other players who would get these type of scores. Am I off the mark here?
No, I just think he's
very good. Like, being in the right place at the right time is a skill.
Well, he's got that. That's what that's what Fletcher Sharp does, and that's what those type of, one thing that does get missed in the NRL is, he's fast. Luke Metcalf is quick, and that gets you into positions that other people wouldn't get into. It creates a bit of luck for you when you've got that extra yard of pace. But the concerns for me, as simple as this. It's one concern. It's got nothing to do with the fact they don't play the next 2 buys. It's got nothing to do with how good I think the Warriors are. The problem is they play half their games at home in New Zealand, mostly night games these days. They used to play a lot more afternoon games. The old school Warriors played a lot of Saturday and Sunday, first game of the day. Playing in New Zealand at this time of year in those dewy conditions, it's just not super conducive to SuperCoach scores all the time. And it was no surprise to me that they play a day game on the weekend and he looks $1 million, and he could easily go and play in, 8 degrees and rain this weekend, and it wouldn't shock me again. Their next home game. So that's part of the problem. Is I think his upside's capped by being a Warriors half at the moment. If he was playing, for the Gold Coast, I reckon he'd average 10, 15 points a game more. Like, I reckon he'd be Jaden Campbell clone, basically.
5:30, he plays this week at Shark Park, which is...
That's not a bad game.
It's not a great place to play,
It's not a great place to play, yeah. Look at what happened to the Storm there a couple of weeks ago.
Happy 35 points. Plays Go Media Stadium 3 p.m. against the Panthers. I think
you got to remember that's our 3. Those games are our 3 p.m. time,
and also no Origin backups.
Yep.
So I think that's a pretty good matchup. 3 p.m. against the Broncos at Suncorp.
That's a good one.
2 p.m. against the Tigers at Go Media. 4 p.m. against the Knights at McDonald Jones. 3 p.m. against the Titans at Go Media. 6 p.m. against the Dolphins. 7:30, 6, 5:30. 6-6. So he's got a pretty good run
up until that.
And
the thing is, the other thing with the Warriors that it's sort of future state, but their draw turns really nicely after the third Origin game. I think it's not even that bad until then, but there's a couple of tough ones in there potentially.
Well, if you want to play the Panthers, they've scheduled it right.
That's the week to play them, isn't it? But yeah, they have a really nice draw. I think it's from 19 or 20 through sort of the head-to-head finals. They play the Titans twice, Para, the Dragons. Like, there's a lot of good matches in there, but at the same time, they turn into a lot of night games. Look, I don't think it's, I'm not saying it's don't buy him territory, but it just makes it a bit tougher. It's another thing to consider, the 2-hour time difference over there. Whenever those home games show, 4 o'clock, if they're in over there, it's 6 o'clock their time. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, but again,
and it's always so dewy over there too.
Somehow it always is. But yeah, in terms of what he's done recently, I wouldn't fault anyone looking at him, but I don't really need to get too potty in at 5'8". Those two guys, Munster and JC, stand out too much.
100% agree. Number 5, Meath Hayson, named at...
Meath Hayson, that's a cracker.
Meath Hayson, named at number 6, but only available at fullback, 276K. Listen, this time of year, I get you probably don't have 3 fullbacks at the moment, especially this week, but I think you're going to want 3 come around 15. Tedesco, you're going to want Pappy the next week, and also Drinkwater. If you don't have any of them, by round 18, he might get the jaw, but I don't know what the go with Latu Fainu is, but I just don't like it. I think you're kind of hamstringing yourself to lock in that position until he gets to a good enough price. Yeah,
it's basically the preseason battle of Iongi or not Iongi, and playing out, in that not to that level by any stretch, but it's the same theory, except now we have a body of work for each of these fullbacks to go, I really want 3-gun fullbacks at the moment, which I think is nearly a must. I also then you'd look at, Latu Fainu's been anointed to the point that they, and Mason's obviously a good footballer as well, but to the point that they're happy to let Galvin go. There's too much conjecture. That's the first one. I think that I can't believe that. I can understand why at least Lawson, because in centre wing you've got 7 slots. It's not an important slot necessarily, your 7th centre winger. I can't see how I can't see the Mason move at all, to be honest.
100% agree. Number 6 and number 7, Kaleiro, Herbie Farnworth. I think they're both end of year keepers. Kaleiro probably more questionable than Farnworth, but you can't go wrong with them, to be honest.
That's it. Those are fair. People jumping on. They're the tier below the 3 guys. I actually have to backtrack on my comments 2 weeks ago when I said Garrick was definitely in there, and I thought he was definitely in there. The way that Manly are attacking at the moment, I don't think Garrick is definitely in a clear top 4. So the centre wingers, I think the only musts or the clear top tiers are Kiraz, Lomax, and missing one.
Kiraz, Lomax,
Val.
That's
the 3 that I think stand out. So then in the next tier, you've got there's a huge tier below that of
Lehi, Sharp,
KL.
Hamoli is number 9, 600K. At the price we were just talking about the other week, probably not a final 17 guy, 2 tries for 91. I probably wouldn't say he deserves to be there. And Garrick, I think he's underpriced for what he's at. He's got a good run coming up, so I really agree with the Ruben Garrick one. And DCE is playing this week, no turbo. I think that side is in for some love this week.
Just have to be careful again with Manly with the 16-19 double bye. It's a real tough patch. Like it's actually easier, to be honest, I think at this stage to cover 15 and 18 than it is 16 and 19. Particularly 19 looks real tough.
Yep.
Obviously we've got some time before that, but just worth considering. Ola, obviously the difference is that if there's any injury to any of those other 3 guys, Liam Martin, who may even, and this is a thought that I had during the week, what if Liam Martin ends up in that middle rotation and Ola goes into that right back row? What would be stopping that in terms of, I think they want Martin on that edge, but if they don't want to bring Ura Ikamanu in, Martin could easily play as one of the, playing through the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about that, and there's every chance Martin for Barnett is such similar swap, but I guess Olakau'atu in there just kind of creates something different like that. They really trust that right edge, Liam Martin.
That's what they aimed to do last week, right? Last game, they tried to just shut that side down, and Queensland couldn't work out how else to attack. That's where they wanted to use Hammer's pace, and Critter was way too good. He was unreal. So, but again, it's just if Hudson gets injured, if Angus Crichton gets injured, Ola is the next guy in for 3 different guys, right, as I see it, and he was in the squad for a reason.
Yep.
I think there's too much conjecture for him, and probably not quite enough upside this week. But next week he might be, might be someone to move on.
Yeah. He's at a decent price. He's probably not a final 17 player though. So
I don't think so.
Who you've talked about Val a couple of times.
Yep.
Just want to chuck him in there because I think he should be in there. For me, I think there's a good chance he's the number 1 traded in player next week because he's been so consistent this year, and there's every chance he misses out on Origin. No Talangi this week, which I think really hurts his credentials. But at the same time, we all sat there and thought, why is Arthurs playing fullback last week? Billy could have told the Broncos, hey, I think I want to pick Cobbo on the wing. There's every chance that could have happened. The game on the weekend obviously didn't justify his case, but I think he's definitely looking at his options around Val.
Yeah, well, you would think that would be look, I thought Val copped probably a bit more hate for his game than he dropped 1 or 2 high balls, but he was one of their I think he made nearly their most meters. He didn't really do a whole heap wrong. He didn't get much ball in attack.
He was up against Lomax too. Yep. You can't really
tough cover
for that.
And he wasn't at and this is no skin off Hammer's back, who's been a very good, surprisingly good defender at centre, but better than I thought he was. And last year in Origin, I thought he was one of their better players.
Yeah.
He got caught out a couple of times, and that put a lot of pressure on. It wasn't like Val was just shooting up by himself and everyone else was in order, if that makes sense. Like, I thought that he copped a bit of heat online. Now, I'm a big Dragons fan, and I don't think Val's a very good defender at centre, and I think Queensland made the right call picking Toya, and I think they'll stick with that, and they should. Toya and Hammer are their 2 best defensive options there, and they're still both good in attack. I think Val's a good chance of missing, but I'd rather bet on that having certainty next week because, again, I feel like that's just a trade that you can just – it's tough because the matchup, and I know that you were keen on it. If I was going to go early on a gun centre this week, I would rather go Kiraz. That would be my take.
I think with Kiraz, 800K, 126 break even, he's the last game of the week, and you said just like I don't want to be in that position where if he pulls out, which I doubt happens, because usually when these players are named to play, they're good to go now.
Him in particular, because have a look at how they used it earlier in the year when he had that sort of no one knew what was happening.
Yeah,
they waited until he was ready and then named him, and he played. And that's, I think, some teams muck around a bit with that. Seraldo hasn't got a history of kind of like, well, look what happened with Tuipulotu at the Dragons last week. We named him, and then Flanagan came out the day before the game and said, or it was the day before the game because we played on Friday night, and said, oh, we were never going to play him. We just wanted to name him and like let him feel the build up. And everyone's like, why would you do, like, as in like go through a normal week like he would in a game week, but then not play him? If that makes sense. Go through.
Probably fair. To be honest,
but do you need to name it? Like, he's a grown man. Do you need to name him? But
he wants the money, man.
Like, but that's Flano, right? That's what he does. But Seraldo hasn't seemed to play those.
Seraldo doesn't do that.
But yes, that would be the risk there. And I feel like that's a less of a risk than Val sticking around in Origin.
I also agree, but Kiraz's injury history isn't good as well. So like, I'm happy to wait a week.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with you.
Good
I'm just
matchup,
saying,
though.
I'd rather take a risk on Kiraz this week than Val. That would be my call. It's, others may disagree, but put it this way: next week you'll have absolute certainty on Val, whether you can bring him in or whether you just he plays Origin and you don't have to worry about it right now.
True. Rob Toyer and Corey Horsburgh, top two traded in. I'm looking at trading out these two this week. Any disagreements with that?
Nah, I think Toyer. Look, Sam Walker makes him interesting in that if he comes and this sort of going to Origin camp.
Sam Walker's coming into New South Wales Cup this week.
Playing, Toyer playing sort of against better opposition at Origin level, being in camp with some better, well, the Roosters side's pretty good, but, experience-wise, but being in an Origin camp, like, he's only going to get better, but he also had that massive score that means that unless you see him as a potential, sixth centre wing season keeper and you want to bet on Sam Walker somehow finding him another sort of 5 to 8 points a game, I think he's a really good cash out option. And if he does turn good and you want him back in your side later in the year, do it then. You can bring him back as a pod option.
Unrelated, I found out today that I work with someone who plays New South Wales Cup for the Rabbitohs.
Right. Who?
Yeah. I'm not saying.
Okay.
I'm not saying.
That's fair.
Because he's giving me info.
Oh. You think you're the Rabbitohs source now?
I'm the Rabbitohs source now.
Rightio.
But he's not named in New South
That's
Wales
fair.
Cup this week, so
That's more. You don't need to give that info away.
Oh, sorry.
Or is he?
Or is he? Yeah. All right. Let's go over our mid-range options this week. Yeah. So my number one. Very excited about this. Mid-range options this week. We've got like Tom Jenkins, Rob Toyer, Corey Horsburgh, ready to sell, ready to go. And I think we need to do some downgrade options this week. I think that's why Nathan Lawson is so attractive. But I think these are the guys we're going to look at rather. Jesse Ramien, 437,900, basing 36 with a base and power of 49 this season. Hasn't scored a try since round one. Averages 49.8, but without his injury-affected game against Melbourne, it'd be 53, so it's not much different. So based on his average of 49.8, he should be 487K, which isn't much anyway. He's got a big break-even of over 100. He's 50K underpriced from his average, but he's already averaging way less than we know what he can produce. A base power of 49 is just ridiculous for me. He's got the Warriors, St. George, and the Broncos in the next three. 437K. I want him and Val this week, but I'm finding that I can't get them both in. I think he's my priority.
Yeah, well, I don't think Jesse Ramien should ever be anyone's priority in reason, but I get that you're doing it as a downgrade option ready for future.
And
yeah,
I think if you can have a Jesse Ramien as your your third on your bench, so your seventh center wing, give it to me.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that my seventh center wing is like 198K or 200 and maybe Kane Bradley or something like that, but. Absolutely. There's literally nothing wrong. Even with the people are going to be scared off by the break even and they can get him next week cheaper, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But he's already way, way underpriced. So it's not like it's not like you're hoping that he has to hit the exact bottom price because you know that he's already got upside. Very playable week in, week out. The other thing that you'll notice probably about some of these mid-ranges is there's question marks over role and other. He's got no job pressure. Like he's locked in.
There's question marks over tries not scored, and they'll come. And as I said before, I love players that haven't scored a try in a while. Since round one, he's pretty much based at his, that 6 has really stunted his average. After that rolls out of his average, next week will be way higher. I just think like a base power of 49. He's on the right edge, which is Nicho Hynes' edge. They're playing the Warriors this week, who I think their right side is the Warriors' right edge defense is their strongest side in terms of centers.
Yep.
I just think like, especially considering the Warriors have been so defensively good this year, it's not going to be plan A. It's going to be plan B. I hate saying multiple phrases twice in an episode,
right.
but
I just think he's like it's a no-brainer if you need someone to downgrade. Like to me, there's no one else in that price range who has the known ceiling that he has, the known role that he has, the playing in a well, the Sharks have been a bit hit and miss lately, but you know, in a good side, things like tries you can go through. Look at Koloamatangi's first half of his season last year. He couldn't score for peanuts, but he found a way now, and he can't stop scoring. Now that could also, you know, you've got to take into account that could be the Sharks' attack shifting towards that sort of shape where maybe Ramien is specifically not in a position that they target for tries, so there's not like set plays run for him very often. But it doesn't matter at his price. It doesn't really matter to me. Like he still finished the year last year priced at like 620, 30K, and if he doesn't need to score every week. If he just finds a try every 3 weeks, he'll end up back in the high 500s. And I don't have any drama with that. I think you're right. I think he is the best option in this range.
Oh, I think so too. He's lost 200K. So based on last year, like a play doesn't regress that much. Touch wood.
For the most part,
Touch wood. I know players can regress with age, especially outside back, so I get it. But his game isn't relied on speed. It's relied on explosiveness. And he, like, from what I'm seeing, he hasn't lost it.
Yeah, no.
It's just he's out of what's that saying? He's not out of form. He's out of luck or something like that. I don't know.
I think that's probably part of what it is. But you do have to factor in the side of, why is it happening? Like what has changed? And the Sharks do look like they don't target him as much as they have at times. But I mean, I think it's just a no-brainer for me.
Kale scored every week. I think that edge is going to be defensively strong for the Warriors this week. And I'm not even I'm talking about it as a whole. Like this is their video. Ramien hasn't scored since round one. Iro scored every week. I think the playbook for every single opposition over the next couple of weeks will be, let's shut down that left edge. And it does concern me how Nicho Hynes is sweeping both sides. So it's not predominantly his ball is on the right, and that's where the good ball goes. So that does concern me. And it does concern me how Braden Trindle, when he does sweep to the right, he just loves giving that face ball to Nickera because he loves to be the hero.
Yeah, he does love
Doesn't love letting the centre do the work. But, yeah, I love him. I think he's always been a good option over this period. And, I definitely thought of waiting another week because his break-even is high. But I feel like these are the weeks where if you just wait 1 week too long, that's when it hurts.
Well, you also don't have 5 trades next week. Like it would be, we've talked in this episode about a few people that we want to wait. You want to wait a week on Lawson and wait a week on Kiraz and wait a week on Val, and you can't wait on all of them.
Yeah.
So you do have to sometimes make a move. And I'm not the type of person to just sit on my hands either. There's times when you go, I'll get this move in this week. Might not be bottom dollar, but it'll then allow me to have those other options next week. My side, I don't personally need it. My center wing is absolutely stacked right now. It's ridiculous. But I wouldn't fault anyone who got Ramy this week. I'm actually, in a little bit of a way, I'm a bit jealous that I'll have Billy Smith sitting in my side and other people will have Ramien in that same sort of slot. So
Rob Toyer to Ramien gets you 170K, which Corey Horsburgh to, I can do a Corey Horsburgh to not Val, which I was hoping to do. I just can't quite do it. So that's why I've looked at these other options. So Zach Labart, 389,600, 26 BE, 41 in base and power on that left edge for the Cowboys. It's his third week, so he gets his first price rise this week. I guess the most concerning thing is his numbers aren't great, but there's not much sample size as well. I think the eye test is a lot better than what the numbers suggest. And I think if he stays on the field, he will definitely rise in price. He's the left edge for the Cowboys, which historically Purdue Holmes scored really well in. But that being said, we're going to rely on him over a period where Dearden's out of the side and Robson as well. But Drinky will still be there, and that left edge will
Drinky, Purdue, and Clifford, I think, will still do a fine job against other teams who are similarly affected. Those sorts of things. I don't think it's a huge issue. The only issue that I've picked up in the last couple of weeks was he copped an absolute bath from Stafford Toe on the weekend. He made him look a bit silly. He's been picked in the side, and I think Labart's, he's a young guy. He'll keep getting better at that. It's the first time I've seen it happen to him. He's actually not stood out as a bad defender or anything like that in his career so far. So that was the only thing I noticed. There may be a bit of pressure on him to just pick up his socks defensively, which, we don't always look at when we look at stats in SuperCoach. But yeah, I think he's a perfectly good option. I think he's priced at about sort of his floor. If you have a look at his base power the last 2 weeks, he hasn't been far off what he's priced at just there. So any attacking stats and he goes, 100, 150K.
Do you think he gets them?
Yeah, well, that's the right spot. That's where you said it just before, Purdue and Val. And look, don't get me wrong, they're both good attacking players, but Labart's actually quite an attacking player. Last year in second or third game he scored he dominated.
It was his first game last year.
Yeah, and he can do that.
But then he went on a bit of a plateau a couple of weeks after.
He was on the right edge last year as well, so he wasn't in their favoured spot. Yeah, I think he's in the right spot to succeed. So
100% agree with you. Because for me, I couldn't go Ramien Holmes. I can go Labart Holmes. And I'm like, is that a better option than going Ramien? But I just love having Ramien as that extra guy, and I'm probably better off just waiting a week on Holmes and waiting to see if he plays Origin. That's what
I think you should do. That's what the numbers say. But sometimes, I know what you're like. Sometimes you don't play the percentages, and quite often it works out for you.
If I had a boost, if I had unlimited boosts, I would have used
48 trades already. Yeah,
right. I know. Next one, Saliva Havili, 396K, 16 break even, averaging 63.3 minutes in the last 3 weeks, a base power of 38, which is not great. So scores of 55, 58, and 60 off what I remember. Second row forward and hooker, Jewel. I don't love it, but something to talk about.
Yeah, I just think Mazelos and Brandon Smith can't be miles and miles away.
Brandon Smith is, I think he's pretty much on track with Sam Walker.
Yeah.
So Sam Walker is due to come back next week or the week after. He's probably the same week, if not the week after.
I just think it's if in another season, in other seasons where the cash isn't there and stuff like this, a lot of these guys become even more relevant. But mostly at the moment, I think that there's just that's a. I probably wouldn't jump on Havili in any season right now. There's just too much conjecture.
Scotty Sorensen, 395,500, 39 break even, base of 36 throughout the season, but for the first time on the weekend, he played 80 minutes out of the whole year. He scored 61 points and he based 57 on the weekend, and eye test wise, he looked better than he ever looked on the weekend. I think that 3-week suspension just really let him rest up his body, which I think is a good thing. But one thing that does concern me, the price is good. The numbers on the weekend were good, but I think the one thing that does concern me is he hasn't really pumped out a good SuperCoach season in probably 2 or 3 years. So maybe we're just hoping he can go back to that when he's not actually that anymore.
Yeah, I think it's just positional pressure. He's actually got competition in that role. IPAP didn't play on the weekend. He's been used through both the middle and the edge. If we were certain that he was locked into an 80-minute role, it'd be a no-brainer. He could be quite clutch for your team in, say, round 16 and 19. But I think there's probably a better guy in that price, or a couple of better guys in that price range that we'll touch on in this.
Jojo Fafita.
Can't now, and I did have a couple of things for it, but he's broken his hand. He's out.
Right.
Yep.
Was he not named?
you would have missed that because you were getting in here. But yeah, he's broken his hand, and so did Verrills.
Right. Sean Mullany. Right. Tell you what's funny, because I got him Brian Kelly last year, worst trade of the year. I've put him on the list because he's 430K.
Yep.
His numbers are all full at the moment. He's scored a couple of tries here and there, but he's not what he's been in the past few years. But for Jojo, his base and power this year has been 37. He had 53 on the weekend, and he's starting to get some big attacking stats. Obviously not to be at the moment. Brian Kelly was on the list. Damien Cook, 489K, 79 and 76 minutes the last 2 weeks. Base of 56 and 57 in the last 2 weeks, with 66 and 63 in base power. -2 break even. It's a good price.
Looks mad on paper, doesn't it? Problem is
injury.
Is the role real?
Yeah.
Like last 2 weeks, last forever, we've basically had a forward go down in the Dragons, but particularly the last 2 weeks, losing Egan really early and then Sewer before
23 minutes in
half time on the weekend. I don't know how to answer it outside of honestly, and my honest thoughts at the moment are that Flano has shown all year that he wanted to spell Damien. Now, we've won both games, and we've looked good with both him and Little on the park, but if that period of them being on the park, if Flano's intention is to keep Cook fresh-ish as much as he can, and he only wants him playing 65, 68 minutes, it straight away brings those, that ceiling down quite a bit. I do think that we'll still see a lot of Little and Cook together, but I don't know if we'll see 80 minutes of Cook, and I think he needs 70 plus to be worthwhile. There's not enough information for me,
and we definitely don't want to be playing with that roulette. Minute roulette with a player in your SuperCoach side is the worst thing to witness. Chris Randall, 342,000, 7 break even, 80 minutes and 76 minutes in the last 2 weeks, 48 and 58 in the last 2 weeks, basing 37, playing on an edge. I only put him here because he's 342,000, and I think he's, in years past, he's kind of been overlooked, especially last year. Like, his numbers last year, what he was producing was actually, I'm looking at Havili. What the hell? I was like, these numbers are terrible. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Randall? I don't love that he's playing the edge, though.
Yeah, the move to the edge is kind of sort of a tough one for him. I mean, he wasn't even going that well at lock. His best role, SuperCoach-wise, is lock. I actually had a look at this because I didn't have him on my radar at all until you sort of said that it was going to be on the run sheet. He had a game against the Bulldogs.
I know the game you're going to say.
7 in 65 minutes in the back row. That is actually, like, you've actually got to go out of your way to only score 7, I reckon. Like, I know he got sin binned in it, but 19 tackles and 1 run in 65 minutes. I saw that and just went, I don't care how good he is. That's
you can't have that.
That's me. That's ruled me out of it, just because I couldn't honestly tell someone. I couldn't look someone in the face and say Chris Randall is a good option and then have him stroll out and score, maybe take out the sin bin. He scores 19 in 65 minutes and they go, what the hell, man? So that's where I stand on him.
100% agree. And last one for me, you've got a couple more. Jack Howorth, 409,000, has a break-even of 67. Scored 96 in his first week. He has a 74 against Manly, but he scored a try in the Manly game, had 2 try assists in the Para game. He scored a 31 against the Dolphins with a try assist.
That was in 17 minutes, to be fair to him.
Yep. But there's a lot of bad scores in there. I was looking at starting with him at the start of the season. Hasn't quite hit for him, but it just feels like he should be more than a 400K player. But maybe this is what he is. He goes on these runs. Could this be the run that we time?
Yeah, I think he could very well be in the sort of Ramien mould, and I wouldn't at all begrudge anyone from at least having maybe in that round 16 area when you're looking at sort of Pappenhausen. I think he could be a good buy there, but at this stage, I'd just wait a week. He's gonna play this week. He's break even 67. He's probably gonna likely to at least stay where he is or drop. Just wait. But yeah, everyone wanted him in the preseason, and that was about the same price. So if you want another piece of the Melbourne attack, go for it. We've all seen what Coates has done, and I don't think he will, sort of score much less than what he's priced at right now. So it sort of fits this, without being Ramien, he sort of fits the same criteria of roles locked in, good team, all that sort of stuff.
For sure. You have a couple.
Yeah. So we can run through them one by one. I've got Garner, who everyone's been keen on for a little bit now. He's got that dual. He's named in the reserves at the moment. I don't know whether those guys, some of the outside backs have played much better footy in the last couple of weeks, and maybe unfortunately for him, he's missed his trick there. But where do you see Garner at the moment?
Hads was very high on Garner, and I definitely saw it at the price. So he scored a double. He's got a double for 66.
And got subbed off.
Yeah, and they got subbed off in the centres, which is crazy. And I just think I've never really looked at him just because the role hasn't been 100% locked in. When it is for Luke Garner, he's always a really good option, but especially in the Panthers side, the role is never going to be 100% locked in, especially with all these guys on the sideline, unless, like Papali'i and Sorensen. What are you looking at?
I was just saying how long we were going.
Oh,
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Just too many question marks for me. I love him as a player, but I just can't buy someone with a questionable role.
Yeah.
There is certain scenarios where I can, where,
where you feel the ceiling would be like almost, where the ceiling is much higher than probably what Garner is. Yeah.
So let's say maybe what's a good option? Like I want to say like a Lehi. It's probably not a great example, but it's like, say you think that Lehi's best position is wing and you want him to play there because he gets more attacking opportunities for tries, line break tries. I feel like you're buying him under the pretense that the variables are, what if Turbo comes back and plays centre? And you just risk yourself on that. Whereas, like, at least there's upside in that.
Yep.
Like, he can score multiple tries in fullback anyway, have multiple try assists. Whereas, that was a bad example, but it's still like, my thought process is ceiling.
And the downside of, and his floor is literally not, Garner's is not playing.
Yes.
Like, there's not much safety in him. So that was probably my thoughts when I was looking at Ramien and even thinking about Howorth. Like, just feel like they're safer. And sometimes
Labart too.
Yeah, Labart definitely as well. And the other
thing I like about Labart, sorry.
Yeah, go for it. It's your podcast.
It's our podcast.
It is our podcast. But
so with Labart, like, I like the person. If you're always going the person who used to be in their prime, I like picking up someone before their prime because, like, we don't know when someone's going to hit that. And I feel like we're still yet to see that from Labart. And I know he's got it in him one day.
Yep.
Whereas Ramien, I know he's probably past his best, but I think he can still produce. Like, look at Dane Gagai.
Yeah, that's exactly
74,
right.
74, 80 in the last few weeks. Like, that's just why I'm pretty happy to go with Ramien, but like Labart still. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's good. I think that's good. And my other one is on the topic of Newcastle, Frisel. He's under 400k. He's now lost Leo Thompson for a month. So Feedy will come back obviously, but he's just, since he's been in that prop role, he's just banging out decent scores. He's got good cover. Doesn't really matter about the draw because I don't think Frisel's going to go running over too many teams for tries in the middle, but he's rock solid option, I think, in there if you really, really are scraping for safety in the forwards. Having a look at some of these other forwards, there's nowhere near as much safety as there sort of is in those centre wings that we've talked about. And I think Frisel could be your, a forward downgrade that would be and playable through the next sort of month or so.
Plays a lot of 50-minute games. He's 460 though, so
yeah.
I think for me, like, if you got Jules and stuff, like Ramien or Labart, way better.
Upside as well,
yeah.
Right? Just depends on your positioning.
These centre wings, mind you, compared to the front rows of Havili, even Sorensen, like, they can score a double 1 week and it could just surge their cash up for a couple of weeks. And if you feel like they're not what you expected, then you can sell them off in a couple of weeks. But I don't mind the Frisel shout because there's also a changing role.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And if you have a look, the last month, as he's really sort of found the extra minutes they're asking him to play at the moment, his base power in his last 4 games, 60, 42, 59, 54. So he, just there alone, there's 100K sort of in his base power, and I don't think he's going to. I don't think his role's going to change. I don't know if you've had. We obviously went through the teams. That Knights bench is concerning, very concerning for their ability to not get run over this week. It's made me think even harder about my vice captain, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, who is Elijah Salisa
He's a young guy.
Oh, Jackson Hastings, 18.
Yeah, he is. And you skimmed past it before, but Marju is named in the reserves.
Marju 22.
I've been holding him not intentionally, just because I haven't really needed to get rid of him, and I'm not even happy that he's back as a pod. Like I'll probably
he's just like Newcastle.
It's just I don't know what to think
Brody
about him.
Jones front row.
Yeah.
He's going to be expected to play big minutes for Frisel, maybe 55, like big minutes for him.
That's what I'm thinking.
55 to 60.
And as I said, in those base power scores, his base power has been 1.2 and then 0.88 and 1.13 and 1.1. So we're looking probably, I'd say, around that 1.1 mark.
Yep.
And if he bangs out, 52, 55 minutes, then that's probably a 60 average in base power. And in times like this, as I said, when you're just looking for a downgrade or you're looking for something, he's an option, I think.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on. We'll go to tipping point, captains and trades. But firstly, Carl McGrath Accounting. Head over to www.carlmcgrathaccounting.com.au. Carl McGrath is a avid SuperCoach. He loves to do tax and do SuperCoach. He could get the best tax return for you for $110 if you mention the show. If you've got something more complicated in terms of basic tax return, then mention the show. He'll give you a good price. Head over to carlmcgrathaccounting.com.au or give him a call on 0401 044 839. Tax season is coming up, so make sure to give Carl a ring and he'll give a chat to you about SuperCoach as well. He's a good bloke and really easygoing. So just send him an email if you want to, or give him a call. Do whatever you want, because going to get my tax done off him this year. I'm very excited for tax time, because it's always a good time of year for some.
Hopefully.
Actually, it might not be for me this year. Ugh, I didn't even think about that. Anyway, let's go to trades. I think we've kind of revealed our trades. I try and hold off. We've got to do the trades at the start of the show nearly sometimes.
No, I think your trades at the end, I think it's a good, it's a good setup. It doesn't, it's okay to talk about them in between, but I think it's good at the end of the show. Like, it is good to work through. We're kind of trying to work through our own. We haven't done our pickle of the week, I'll tell you that much. But we are.
Oh, do you have one?
I don't have one this week. Well, actually, I do have one. To trade or not to trade, that would be mine. That's my pickle of the week. But I'm leaning not. Which is, we'll go into this. But part of the fun of, and it's not just our podcast, it kind of follows this. Like, I think there's a lot of really good SuperCoach podcasts out there. And part of the fun of having the trades at the back end is that you kind of meander through some different, people listening and watching are going to be thinking sort of have the same issues or similar issues, and we kind of work our way through that to our trades, and they kind of would be doing the same and potentially changing things. Oh, that's right, I didn't think about that player.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think it works really well.
I do it here when you bring up a player. I'm like, oh, geez, they were named?
Yeah. So, I think it's good. I think let it ride. Let everyone kind of work through it with us, because we're doing the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm working through my problems like this as well.
That's true, because your trades definitely could change by the end of the podcast, which has happened for me multiple times.
Definitely happened for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Happens to the listeners too, because I know you and Hads listen quite a few. Mainly Hads. He always messages saying, "Oh, I didn't think about it." Shout out to Hads. Well, I've
been trying to do it this year. Shout out to the WhatsApp in our sort of admin chat. I've been trying to kind of put my what I would normally just post and get lost in amongst the normal WhatsApp in that, and let people sort of see, because you would have seen there's weeks where I post one thing and I go, that's for my trades, and I'm out, like last week. And there was also a couple of weeks where I've flipped and flopped, and I try and sort of let people see, that's it's normal. It's not something to be,
Yeah.
A lot of them are probably in the same boat, different weeks maybe, or different thoughts, but we all go through it. we've all got those weeks where we just can't make up our mind, and it's just, if it goes wrong, it's going to kill you and that sort of thing.
It's not even if you can't make up your mind as well. It's what fits and what's the priority.
Yeah.
And that's for me this week. We will talk about our trades, but we will put that into Pickle of the week. Head over to picklebet.com.au, use the code TURBO. Had a few sign-ups over the last few weeks, and owner reached out to me, and he was very, very happy. So if you do, head over there. They've got an Origin special actually, which I utilised. You put money on a first try scorer, which is under $50 or $100 or something. Don't quote me. And you get 200% bonus bet return if it doesn't win. So I put $20 on Reece Robson to score first. He didn't, so I got a $40 bonus bet. So use the code TURBO and sign up to utilize that for when Origin happens, because I thought that was a great special.
Yeah, no, when you shared it, I was like, that's actually, the sort of thing where punters don't win very often, but that's like double bonus bet is like pretty much, it's a free shot at the stumps, really. Yeah, literally.
And I put it on a dog the next day when I was out with some workmates and got up $200, cashed out 200. So I got $200 for not getting my first try score right. So head over to Picklebet, use the code TURBO, but make sure to know what you're really gambling with. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858. Trades, I'm going Ramien and Holmes. Hopefully, I actually can't do it. So it'll be Labart and Holmes or potentially just Ramien.
Yeah, I'm assuming based on your structure and I know you mentioned in this that we'd maybe talk towards it as a double, like this week and next week, what our current thoughts are. That's what you sent me. 2 week, like your 2 week trade plan.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That was a blank look you were giving me then. I was sorry. Don't give me that.
Yeah,
you sent it to me, so don't.
No, sorry, because the buys are next week. Like, what are your plans the next week? My plan is to get in Tedesco.
Yep, me too.
But I'm going to sell Pappy.
Yeah, you told me that. I don't see it, but you know what?
But if there's other ways to do it, I'll see. And Kiraz will be available next week. I think he'll be a must-have. Val will be available next week. So I think I probably need to go Labart. I probably need to go Labart and Holmes because I want both of them. I want Holmes if he's not named. But then again, do I just pass on Holmes? Hope he doesn't get picked. That's an issue I don't have to worry about. Do I get Ramien in? I don't know. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, well, I think for me, I've actually built out a bit of a semi-structure. And I don't want to go too far into the future, but I don't know. Who knows when I'll next be on the potty? Probably soon, but who knows? So I'm going to go no trades this week. I looked pretty heavily at Cook, and that's why I sort of had a bit of a spiel on him earlier, because that was the first instinct I had last weekend when I saw he got minutes again. But I could go Memo to Cook, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take the AE this week, and Cook is a dud of a spot anyway at the moment. So I'll just let Sandon ride on into the sunset at the moment. He's going okay. But next week I'm looking at doing Toya to Tedesco, Nath to JC, I think will be my move. That's not set in stone, but that's my current plan. And Brandon Smith to Lawson. That'll be my next plan. And then I will be targeting both Val and Kiraz in round 17 after they have their bye in 16. I'm not leaving them out because they have the buy in 16. Nothing to do with that. And if you guys want them before then, do get them. I looked at Tedesco's draw, and it is ridiculous in that, like, I know they got the buy in 17, but their draw between 15 and 19 is so good. And I don't care what price he is. I can't miss him. He looks... And
we talked about him
so good
2 weeks ago before, do we buy him prior to this round 13? I kind of wish I'd just pulled the trigger. Like, he scored 68 and 91.
Yeah.
And we kind of said, if he scores 80s, he loses 100K. He lost 100K. But kind of wish I got the scores.
No, it would be nice. I agree. But look, that the idea was I felt like his money, I think I did find point. Like, I got Lehi the week that I, so I probably didn't miss out. I could have easily been punished. So, like, he was not far off just another 50 points in that period. And that's why I want him so bad, because sitting there as a non-owner watching him like a hawk, I felt like
scary.
He's the guy that can break your heart in and just put up a 140, and it wouldn't shock me in the slightest. So for me to do that, because I've got not much cash in the bank, because I've been buying up guys in the last couple of weeks, Keon and so forth. Tedesco is my first priority over Kiraz and Val. But if you've already got Tedesco and you've got a bit of cash, I think you can go Kiraz or Val this week, and I think you can, and then you can look at the other one in 17. That would be my sort of next few weeks of planning.
100% agree.
Yep.
Plays the Knights without Leo Thompson, Jacob Safidi, Ponga. Like, that matchup in round 15 is going to be so crucial.
What is that a day game? It won't be, because they don't have day games in the short rounds.
Could be a 5:30 game. But you did mention Cleary.
Yes.
To JC. I think that's huge. You skim past that very quickly.
Yeah, I'm not sold on it yet. Not because I'm not sold on JC. I am sold on JC, but because I just don't know if I want. What it will leave me with is Munster and Campbell, right? And I'd assume that would potentially be the case for a number of other people. That's not a big problem in itself. It just will leave me, when I want to get Nath back in, having to work out which one of those two I want to sell.
Yes.
That's a bit of a pain.
Cleary misses 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then plays the Bulldogs.
Yep. And then
has a bye in round 18 and then plays Para in round 19.
And we all assume that you'd be pretty confident the fact that Ivan came out early and said no dice on the Wars game in New Zealand, that he would back up against
still,
them.
He's not scoring those big 150 scores that's going to hurt you at the moment.
Yep.
I think they'll come for sure, but maybe not during this period. I'm looking at DCE.
Yeah, I think that if he gets if he's out, I've seen people look at everything from your Cody Walkers to DCE to probably not Fogarty, but there's heaps of options out there. I'm not against it.
Daly Cherry Evans, 470k.
Yep. Plays
the Knights this week. I actually don't mind it this week. But I don't want to sell Cleary against the Tigers, who have been leaking.
No. There's no. I think this could be the week that Cleary gets a 140 or something like that.
But then Cherry Evans against the Titans next week at Seabus at 8 p.m. Not that good, but at Seabus 8 p.m. Snubbed off Origin. He's got what's his break even? It is 44. So hopefully he doesn't go 2 bazonkas this week, but you still make 300k.
Is bazonkas a word?
I
don't mind that. I might add that into the repertoire.
Yeah.
That's good.
Bazonkas. That could be the thing instead of gangbusters. Jesus. Tom Sangster really... he asked me to do the Daily Telegraph show today.
Didn't you just blank him?
Before look how late I was
anyway.
Yeah,
true. You wouldn't have had any chance.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, sorry. I'm in bloody Picton.
Beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, my cousins used to live there. All right, let's do tipping point. Lehi, Val Holmes, Ramien, Labart, and Pappy. I thought to keep it relevant for the show. Lehi against the Knights on Friday night. Let's start at 65. And I got rinsed last week by Timmy, so shout out to Timmy.
I got you the week before too. We're going all right at the moment.
You did, yeah. I think the score is
And 7. You guys keep, every time you two talk about it, Timmy acts as though I haven't won any weeks. I have won like a couple of weeks. I haven't been I'm not being 6-love by Nadal on the clay courts or something like that. Like, settle, pedal.
Yeah, it's you've won a couple. I think you guys are starting to put a bit of lead on. It's 7-5.
That's pretty close.
7-5.
When are you going to do your Maccas?
So I did. Yeah, I've got to do that soon. But I didn't actually lose that. I just threw Timmy a bone. You did
throw Timmy a bone, and you shouldn't have.
No,
you should have. What you should have done was really driven the knife in a bit. I reckon that's what you should have done.
Should have.
Should have been ruthless with him.
So Cleary,
because he would have done the same thing. Did
Cleary go under 88? I think he scored about that. Yeah. So I think Lehi went over
87.
So I got that.
Yeah.
I got Cleary. I didn't get Drinkwater for 97. I got Koloamatangi over 85. Yep. I went Pappy above 113 and Lehi under 59.
Yeah, you got 3-2. So you didn't get rinsed. You got
no, but they were the first 3. The ones I lost were the first 3.
You were down 3 now, right?
All right. Because Koloamatangi and Cleary played on the Sunday.
So Lehi, you went did you say 65?
Yeah, 65.
I'll go over 75.
Ooh. I'll go under.
Yep.
Oh. No, I'll go under.
Okay.
Under.
I think that's about where I was happy anyway.
Yeah. Val Holmes against the Dolphins running at Jake Averillo.
I'm gonna. Well, what are you gonna set? Are you gonna set all the lines? Because sometimes you do this randomly where you just forget to set, which is fine. I don't really mind. But you did it to Timmy last week as well.
I'm concentrating on like typing in the scores so I don't forget them.
Yeah.
Because I hate having to go back on the podcast and listen because I'm like, what point? Val Holmes, 70.
I'll go over 72.
I'll go over 78.
I'll go unders.
All right, sweet. Jesse Ramien versus the Waz, 65.
You just bring him in because you just put him in here because you want him to score over 65?
Yeah,
I'm going to go unders on 65.
Right, 65, so I'll go
over.
I
think it's a fair line.
I like to manifest my...
No, I've noticed that. It's heavily leaned towards your side.
Zach Labart against the Melbourne Storm at Amy Park.
Yep.
Let's start at 23.
He is on the
weak
weaker
side
defensive side. What did you say, 23?
Yeah.
I'll go over 35.
I'll go over 45.
I'll go unders just in case he doesn't score.
And Pappy against the Cows. I'll start at
6 p.m. game.
I'll start at 185. I'll start at 85.
I'll go over 90.
I'll go over 92.
Oh, I'll go unders. Whenever you've got a bit of a tell, mate, and that is whenever you really are you really want us to just take a little bit more, you only go up by a little bit, but normally you go up by like 8 or 10.
I actually most of the time I'm pretty happy with with what I take.
Yeah.
But
I can tell when you're close. That's what I'm getting at.
But like 92, if you went up to 95, I probably would have said 97.
Right. Okay. So it wasn't. So you fooled me there. You didn't give it away entirely.
No, but I feel like I'm happy. I don't know. Maybe it's a subconscious thing because I know I don't want to take it, but I'm willing to take the risk.
I like it.
Captains, I haven't looked into it, but I think Pappy's going to be my captain.
Okay.
Potentially VC. Yeah, he's probably going to be my VC. Oh, he's probably going to be my captain and VC Lehi.
Yep.
Maybe Garrick up against that left edge.
I'm sick of VCing him, and I hope he goes well for me because I want his points. But I am sick to death of falling into the Garrick VC trap. I've done it like 3 times in the last 7 weeks or something like that, and he's gone shit every time.
I'll tell you what I love about the Garrick VC though. No Royce Hunt.
Yeah, that's handy for you. I haven't had that problem all year, which is why I started with Tukey Simpkins because I had a feeling that Royce Hunt might become a bit of a Royce Hunt and do exactly what he's done. So I haven't had that problem, thank God. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've got in my list, I've got VCs from Lehi, Herbie, and Pappy. Don't mind Herbie on out against my Dragons' weaker edge defensively. I like Cleary a lot this week. I know he's stuck in that can only get try contributions because he's playing in tight to the ruck, but you know, we saw what happened to the Tigers. They got blown away a little bit. They were pretty unlucky with the sin bins, but it can happen to them. Like it's happened a few times lately. They're starting to get to that stage of the season where they're struggling, and their bench is they're all over the shop. They don't have Twile this week. Safeast moved to lock, which he's actually a decent player in there, but they got Tony Suka starting. They don't have much, and then you just can't go past May or Koloamatangi. So at this stage, I'd love to do Lehi VC Pappy captain, but I think I might go Pappy and Cleary this week. I just think they kind of stand out to me.
Yeah, I don't mind the Cleary play. It just feels like a week where Luai's going to rally the troops.
Yep.
Just based on, but yeah, I guess we'll see.
I mean, and looking at May and Koloamatangi, I think Koloamatangi day game against a pretty decent pack, I think, and last push for Origin 2. I think he's actually safer than May. Not that either of them are unsafe.
I think there's enough upside available this week, though.
I think so, and particularly because it's a day game. And last week he he's all over the shop.
Yep.
Those day games just allow a little bit more sort of free play and that sort of thing. So if you're the type of person, and I know there's a lot of them starting to come out, including myself at times, who want the safety of the VC loop and then a forward captain, I'm leaning Koloamatangi this week, slightly over May, very slightly, but just a few more positives. I think it was weird last week. I don't know. Did you watch the Tigers-Cowboys game closely?
I was out. I was out.
So May put away the offload and also then later in the game just blatantly refused to run the ball almost. Like he was their link-up man and he was passing. Like the last 15 minutes, I reckon he probably passed the ball 8 times. It was crazy. Never seen anything like it. Not only didn't offload, didn't look to offload. It was almost like there was some sort of instruction there. And I'm talking, the back end of games, he's been, when they're chasing the game, throwing that offload or like 3 times in the last 10 minutes. He did not even look for it. It was a bit weird considering the way he played the week before, which was out of this world. It was. It hasn't made me like second guess him or anything, but it was quite strange to see him not offload whatsoever.
Very strange. All right, number 1 tip for 14.
For me, I think you just got to hold trades. We talked about it already, so I won't go into depth on it, but don't jump the gun.
Yep. All right. Thank you for tuning in this week, and we'll see you for the Q&A. Enjoy your footy. Bye.